Editor-in-Chief is live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, welcome to the program. September the 4th, you're with the Editor-in-Chief live with Esther's Oil, your multi-ingredients, omega-3 healthy aging supplement backed by thousands of satisfied customers. Get the benefits of 6 supplements in 1 capsule to support joint, heart and brain health. Take as directed, read the label, About Health, Auckland. Good morning, folks. I'm Duncan, Garner. Welcome to the program. Leave us a comment on TikTok or YouTube. All details are there, of course, today. The big restructure. You're told that you may lose your job, so get ready. How can you design yourself a job and how can you keep your job when the squeeze goes on? What do you do and what do you need to do to stay alive in your workplace when the accountants and the Grim Reaper comes demanding change? So what do you do? Also today, are we being ripped off when we go on that overseas holiday and change our money or send money overseas? The giant rip-off that we don't know about yet. So I'll tell you all about that. And rugby versus league, who's getting the top talent first? Who gets it? I'm a bit nervous today too. Tonight is the premiere of Celebrity Treasure Island, the big red carpet. Do you reckon, what do I do? How do I dress? How do I sort of go about things? Do I just keep calm and carry on?
I reckon you should dress like you did on the island.
I just go bush.
There's a play.
I reckon you go in character.
Yes.
As Duncan Garner.
Yes.
On Celebrity Treasure Island.
Are you always in character?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's no sort of not unusual to wear the swan dry, you know.
No,
right,
it's not at all.
that's true.
Yeah.
You could totally wear that to a
I think
premiere.
I should, eh?
I think that'd be quite funny.
And like a bandana? Did you wear a bandana?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'll do that,
there
eh?
you
Because rather than get all sort of uptight in a suit and tie.
Get sweaty, get a bit dirty.
Yes. Well, so just normal then. Right, it's news time. Here's MediaWorks Deputy News Editor. It is Grace Cocker. Very good morning.
Ukraine vows to take swift revenge against Russia after a deadly attack on a military college. More than 50 people were killed and hundreds more injured. The country's foreign minister told CNN they need air defense systems.
Because they're the only one capable of intercepting ballistic missiles. So I don't know how many more tragedies like this have to occur for all promises to be fulfilled.
A warning that espionage is alive and well in New Zealand. A report by the SIS outlines various security threats and concerns about Kiwis sharing information, often unwittingly. Security expert Paul Buchanan says people need to stop being complacent.
We've got a bigger problem when it comes to insiders sharing information that they shouldn't be sharing.
Salvation Army is concerned about vulnerable people being left to fend for themselves. It blames a reduction in social service provider contracts by Oranga Tamariki. Spokesperson John O'Bell says it's not good.
Ultimately, that means that whānau can't get the support they need, which then adds to and exacerbate some of the challenges that they'll be facing.
There are massive train disruptions across Auckland this morning after 2 workers were electrocuted at Parnell Station while performing maintenance. Police say both are in a serious condition. And thousands of Aucklanders have entered a 3rd day without internet access. Chorus says vandalism knocked out connection to Mangere Bridge and Onehunga early on Monday morning. To sport, silver for New Zealand's William Steadman at the Paris Paralympics, setting a new national record in the T36 400 metres.
The race went pretty much according to plan, so yeah, real happy with how I executed it today.
And flag bearer Anna Grimaldi has surged to bronze in the T47 100 metres. Former Black Caps captain Brendan McCullum's taken on another role with England. Already their Test cricket coach, McCullum's taking over the white ball teams too, starting in the new year through to the end of 2027. And Team New Zealand's lost to Luna Rossa at the America's Cup Challenger Series in Barcelona. They came off their foils at the start before being disqualified late in the race for leaving the course to avoid lightning strikes. That's news and sport.
Duncan Garner, live.
So your workplace says it's about to redesign the workplace. The proposal is 100 jobs may go, and by that I mean your job may be cut. Just like that. When they say that is used, when they say that usually means that your job will go, and they've decided. But the law says they must consult, so they must talk to you. There is time, not much, but there is time. A small window exists for you to pull out your best 2-minute spiel and tell them why getting rid of you is a mistake, and here's why. Tom O'Neill from cv.co.nz joins us now to tell us how to save your job, basically. Tommy, g'day, mate. Nice to see you.
G'day, my friend. Well, then, I'd love you to be on the show.
Yeah, so what do you do? Because this is so common, isn't it, in our society now, where they come to you and say, well, this proposal, it's not, our minds aren't made up, but 100 jobs may go. They've decided, you know, but you've got to consult. How do you get back at them and say, right, you need me?
Look, this is such a great question. We look at this and to be honest, most people think it's a lost cause. You know, they think HR's, they've got a probably cynical view of HR. Surprise, surprise. And they're like, HR have got the knives out. That's it. Get dust off the CV. Let's hit the market. The natural fact, it's not actually a lost cause. A, legally, because of the process. But I mean, I had a client I was working with, production scheduler, worked in a building company, using all the software to cutting and all that sort of stuff, aluminium, wood, etc. And his company came to him and said, "We're moving in a new direction, still in building, but your role is made redundant. And we'll have this consultation and all that sort of stuff." And he's like, "Oh, here we flip it, go." So he phones me up to get a CV done. And through the process, I said to him, "Look, actually, what you want to do is go back to the company and demonstrate your personal value, not the job value to a degree, because that's what's been given the boot. Think about your personal value, what you bring to the role, the business. In this situation, we've got him to break down all his achievements, so knowledge of highly specialized software, 12 years experience with the cutting tools, getting things right, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, how can you make that part of the contribution to the new business? And so he thought down the moving to a more commercial space, and he really pitched it around that. Bam, got the job or retained the job, and then moved on with the business. It was a master work from him about how you do this stuff. It's not the end, may well be the end, but you want to go down fighting in a good, healthy and positive way.
And your company may not actually know what you do. It's highly likely they actually don't know the relationships that you have and the people you know and what you bring to the business. For instance, just on a different on the same subject, I'm still here, right, at MediaWorks. At MediaWorks, this is their gear, and I'm still here as a contractor. 18 months ago, we all lost our job. We were all made redundant at Today FM. Remember that? I was on air, and they cut me, and everyone was out the door. Yeah. I'm still here because I went to them and said, "No, go to hell. I'm staying, and I'm going to redesign how I do it. It's a digital market. And look, this is digital, television, radio. It's called a podcast."
Yeah, absolutely. And see, this is the thing. You talked about your value, and then you talked about your future contribution, how you can add value moving forward. And that is really what the people who don't know, let's say if you're working in Sector 3 and, HR and the Golden Tower, they know nothing about you. And so it's about, if you can translate that, not just to your boss, but to your boss's boss, suddenly people can understand that value you bring. And again, it's through those achievements, the things you've been successful in to this point, and then laying out a vision of how you can be successful with the organisation moving forward. I mean, you're a prime example of this, mate.
So you go in there and you say, what you don't know is I've actually got a $10,000 contract coming into the company in October. There's another $20,000 worth of sales that I've actually got almost confirmed for November. And in December, we're bringing on a new client that you don't even know about yet, but I've got them. Now, if you get rid of me, fine, I'll take them to a new guy. If people will take me, I'll go across the road and I'll take the new client there. So you've really got, you're saying go in there with a spreadsheet and just show your value to the company, not the job, but your value. I'm a person with contacts and people that come here because of me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But you can do that if you're a plumber, whatever it is, any sort of role. But as you're saying, particularly let's say in sales, it's demonstrating the value and you've brought to the organisation, and then it's demonstrating the value of what you can bring moving forward. So again, trying to put aside the value of the role, because it's already to some extent been decided that chances are that's going to be given the boot. And so really thinking about how you add value in the future, but backing that up with success you've had in the past in terms of your meetings. So certainly sitting down with the boss and having respectful one-on-one, and putting that down on paper as well, your achievements and where you feel you can move in the organisation and move the organisation moving forward into the future. And that way, hand on heart, you've given it your absolute best. If that's still not counted, that sucks. But that you've given it everything.
And what about if you say to them, if they say, "Oh yeah, but we don't see it as a full-time role"? Well, set yourself up as a contractor then. So you give me 30 hours, or you give me a contract for the next 9 months, or whatever. You can transition that way as well, can't you?
Well, see, this is the thing. It's a lot of the time it's budget. The budget's like, well, we've got a budget for 100. It's been cut down to 60. 40 people have to go. And you suddenly think, oh, no, I've got to be one of those 60. Well, in actual fact, chances are they may have a digital content budget outside of the traditional media budget. And suddenly, wow, okay. And particularly as a contractor, we may have a special projects budget that is just sort of sitting there for some special projects that are about to kick off. So exactly as you say, you can go from a permanent role across to a contract role and then rebuild, a whole new career effectively in that space. I mean, contracting is the way it is going for many, many, many roles. It's been like that for 20 years. Chances are we'll keep on trucking that way. And being able to step across into a contract at the very least is certainly something you can look at.
Yeah, I like this discussion because it doesn't have to be D-Day for people. There can be opportunity and they just need to think. But so often we're sheep, aren't we, that we just follow that group of 60 out the door and away we go and, we moan and groan. But you got to get home, give yourself some time, just some thinking space, clear the air, clear the decks, and just think, what am I good at? How can I do this differently? The world is such a fascinating, employment market is such a fascinating big place. You can move the chairs around and look at your own skills and talent and contacts and everything and design something. You can design your way into these companies, I reckon, if you just think about it.
Look, honestly, mate, it's about minimising risk from the employer's perspective, right? They need to get rid of 40 people. It's a terrible travesty, but it is what it is from their perspective. Okay, so how do you minimise risk of them keeping you and as well as that, not just minimising that risk, but now turning that into a positive? For example, I'm losing my role. That sucks. Okay, well, hold on. Here's this wonderful new opportunity to create a whole lot of digital content that where everyone is going now. Oh, actually, that's you've taken out the risk. You've taken out the fear of bringing you back. Also, being a contract is great because it's, gives a lot of freedom from the employer's perspective. So again, thinking about it differently. Too often we just default to it's all over. HR's got the knives out. I now need to go back to a job, traditional job. In actual fact, are there other ways we can look at this? I think the first key is not to freak out, to not, go bananas, certainly not to go crazy at the boss, or not to fire off emails to HR, because no matter how great you are, that's only going to backfire. But again, being strategic about it, sitting down and thinking, all right, what are my successes? What are my achievements to this organisation? Where can I take this role? Where can I take my skills in the future? And really trying to be as much as possible mature and respectful through that process. The more toys that are thrown out of the cot, the less chance, no matter how great you are, that you'll be able to stay in the business.
I just thinking we were on air, we were cut from Today FM. And, it was like, well, fuck you. It was the old FU came out, and I think I called them deceitful or something like that, or deceiving or something. And Tova said, we've been fucked over or something. And I think I said into the papers, Rugby, I said, I didn't know whether to, I met the boss a bit later, he wanted to talk about the digital stuff. I said, I didn't know whether to sort of shake his hand or smack him,
Yeah, well, realistically, that's where we're at emotionally. Our livelihood has been taken from us by, corporate drones.
Yeah.
In some respect, how people would see it. Our livelihood, our value, our personal value. A lot of us put our personal value in our job. And when that is taken from us without our permission, well, rightly, we tend to go bananas in many respects. But it's trying to tamper down that incredible rage and stabbiness.
Be mature.
Try to take a moment.
Yeah, and be mature and adult about it and see how you can be actually constructive to the company in some way. Tom, you're the best, mate. TomandNeilCV.co.nz. If you need help, go to him. He's the man. Appreciate it, mate.
Always a pleasure, mate. Take care.
Cheers. See you next time.
Cheers, mate.
It's the Slam Dunk.
All right, certainly is. Why can't the Auckland NPC rugby team win a game with so much talent around Auckland? I spent the last 2 weeks watching some of the most incredible rugby at first 15 level in Auckland with the Blues Secondary Schools finals and also the North Island Under 15 tournament in Tauranga. And the calibre and standard and size and skill and strength of these players is incredible. So why does Auckland rugby struggle? Where are the scouts and where are the people keeping the talent in Auckland? Where I've seen players here that go straight to the Crusaders. They get contracts. Are the Blues out there? And if so, where are they? For years, players here in Auckland have made the trip south to the Crusaders. It's seen as the place in which to launch your All Black bid in your career. But maybe that is to change. Who knows? For instance, North Shore's Westlake Boys has sent its last 3 best players to the Crusaders after they finished school. The Blues may have made a bid for them, but they either missed out or they weren't awake and at the party. Auckland should dominate rugby. There are so many amazing players in this isthmus. Where are they? Where do they end up? It is league, isn't it? League is strong and well, and scouts from an early age target these boys. From as young as 12 years of age, I've seen the scouts. They are there in force. And rugby is asleep at the wheel. They leave it too late. Rugby needs a wake-up call. There's so much talent in the city of Auckland, yet they let them go. They let them go to rugby or just stop. Too casual, too unprofessional, too slow. Too much time spent on getting players to just participate rather than identifying top talent. Let's get everyone involved. But there's some real talent there, so why don't they find them and use them? League is picking the best players. And rugby is just so casual and so complacent. Complacency is rugby's problem. It's their worst trait. They think that players will come to them. They'll come to us. It's not like that anymore. League is light years ahead. Rugby needs a major wake-up call. Shake itself of this sort of complacency and stop being so passive. It is a market, and the best guys get snapped up as early as 12 years of age. Rugby needs to keep reminding itself how it can do better. It's no longer the only option out there. So get with the program.
Duncan Garner, live.
Now, I've said for some time that Kiwis get screwed by the big Aussie banks. And we do. This was revealed in the Commerce Commission's latest investigation, and the government has promised immediate action around this. But some things weren't covered in that report and that investigation, like international transactions. They remain one of the least transparent areas of banking. They impact all of us, all Kiwis who travel or send money overseas to loved ones or even shop online on global sites. If you shop on global sites, you all do this, not to mention the number of import and export businesses who pay high bank fees without even realising what hidden fees they're being charged. The Commerce Commission says that further investigation is needed, and I spoke recently to money transfer business Wise and asked their spokesperson, Jack Pinswinski, what's going on?
So what's happening is that international payments, every time you make an international money payment, there's a currency transaction, there's a currency conversion. And inside that currency conversion, you're getting an exchange rate, which is not the exchange rate you'd see on Google, but it's an exchange rate that'd be offered to you by your bank or your money transfer provider. And the costs, there's a fee associated with that. So, if you're getting a poor exchange rate, that's a type of fee, and it's not being illustrated to consumers in New Zealand. And as a consequence, New Zealanders are paying more every time they make a foreign currency transaction, every time they travel overseas, send money to their families, buy something from overseas online. They're getting slugged with a 3 to 5% additional cost, and we think that that's not on. That shouldn't happen.
And they won't know this, will they? Because they just, we're sort of sheep really, aren't we? We line up, we buy this stuff, we send money or whatever the exchange is, whatever the transaction is, and we just sort of blindly go about our business, not knowing this. So it needs to be up there in spotlights, doesn't it?
Well, it's interesting. So we did some surveys and we found that 57% of Kiwis think that their bank makes it easy to understand the cost of international payments. But only a quarter of New Zealanders are aware that foreign exchange payments have a markup on the exchange rate. So there's a difference between the belief and understanding of how these products are priced and the actual understanding about how these products are priced. So, 1 in 4 New Zealanders know that they've got to look out for a bad exchange rate, but, over 50% of New Zealanders think that their banks are making it easy for them. And these fees, like I said, they can account, for between 3 and 5% of the full transaction amount, which is pretty significant when you consider that there's hundreds of millions of dollars flowing every day across borders in and out of New Zealand.
So therefore, the banks are knowingly clipping a ticket to the point of, for them, it will make them millions of dollars. This is a transactional fee that will cost us millions, but it will make them millions of dollars. And it's allowed under law because there's no regulation limiting what they're doing.
Well, yeah, you'd say that there's an economic rent here. That's what the economists would call it. It's a fee, it's a cost, it's a charge that's baked into a transaction. And it really isn't fair on consumers if you contemplate the fact that if they knew the costs of these sorts of things, they would be competing, going between providers, trying to find the best possible deal. So our contention is if you start illustrating to consumers the costs of these payments in dollar amounts, then you're going to start seeing people move between providers, finding cheaper ways to send money overseas.
You would like more clarity then? You'd like more, I suppose, some clarity around this, or at least the banks forced to front with their rates and what the best rates are, or how do you do it?
Any competitive market requires the costs and the prices of products to be disclosed. You wouldn't go into a supermarket and buy some milk if you didn't know the cost of the milk. You'd want to see that there's a price on it, that you can make an assessment as to whether or not you think that's a good deal. And if you don't think it's a good deal, then you can go to another supermarket and buy milk cheaper, hopefully. So what we're asking for is fundamentally the same thing. We're asking that the prices for these transactions be made clear to consumers upfront at the point of transaction, so that a New Zealander can take a look at it, think of themselves, this doesn't seem like a good deal, and then more easily make comparisons between different providers and different banks.
You're asking for transparency, aren't you? You're asking for transparency and clarity and so some vision, so New Zealanders see this with their eyes wide open.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're asking for. Transparency in pricing for foreign currency exchange.
Right. If I'm sending $1,000 to my mate in Samoa, what would I pay on that as a fee with the banks?
It would depend, and it would depend based on the way in which you've paid the money into the bank. So if it's cash, it's more expensive. It's also more expensive if it's paid in cash out at the other end. If you're doing it via bank transfer, it's slightly cheaper, but it can be anywhere between 3% and up to 10% in some cases, sending it to places in the Pacific. This is a serious issue for Pacifica. The ability to send money back home is a very important thing, particularly in places like Australia and New Zealand, where there are large communities of migrant workers who are here to send money back home to their families. And the fact that they're getting their ticket clipped potentially up to 10% on every transaction is worrying. And, there needs to be some mechanism to ensure that competitive tension brings these costs down.
It seems ridiculous that of $1,000, $100 could go in fees and associated costs to get the money to your mate at the end of the line, and all you're doing is transferring $1,000. Now, what should it be? What sort of fair and reasonable? Because I suppose any law change or regulation would include something along the lines of fair and reasonable. So, what would a fair and reasonable fee be for that sort of transaction?
Duncan, I'll just be clear. We're not asking for government or anyone to set prices or set floor prices or ceiling prices on these products. We're just saying that the best thing to do is to make these prices transparent. But in respect of how we price our products, it does depend on which route you're sending money to. And as I said, it does depend on the mechanism in which you pay in the money and pay out the money. But I can give you an example. Wise globally has about 0.67% average fee across about 1,200 currency pairs, so 1,200 different currency routes. This is obviously currency routes that are very highly trafficked. So, between New Zealand and Australia, or Australia and British pound, it is more expensive when you start looking at more exotic currencies. And there are a variety of reasons for that. But it really shouldn't be as expensive as being charged by traditional money transfer providers.
What's your take on this in terms of overall how much money are New Zealanders losing as a result of this every year? Like, is it a giant rip-off? Is it a small rip-off? What's the sort of number you'd put on it?
It's not insubstantial. We're actually in the process of trying to find the total size of this market. As I said, it's a market which doesn't have a central exchange like a stock exchange. It's an over-the-counter market. So we don't know exactly the size of it, but there are hundreds of millions of dollars every day moving across borders. And a lot of that money is being sent by individuals, by small businesses. And, if you're contemplating what this looks like over the course of a year, it's many millions of dollars, potentially hundreds of millions of dollars to New Zealand consumers, small businesses, remitters, and travellers, people travelling overseas.
That we are unnecessarily paying, so we don't need to pay this. Exactly. If there was more regulation, more transparency, and more options, then we wouldn't be paying them because we'd be aware of it. This is an awareness issue too, isn't it?
It is in a way, and it's one of those things that if you said, well, why aren't people just educating themselves better? Well, what other market do you have where the price of a product is not illustrated to a customer up front? I can't think of a single one. If you think about the way you buy petrol, well, you see the sign of the petrol station. It tells you what you're paying.
Yeah.
The equivalent to this is you have to drive up to the Bowser, fill your car up, and then go into the shop, and then they'll tell you how much you paid in petrol.
It's a hidden and secret fraud in many ways. It's a hidden theft in the night.
Those are your words. I would say that it's a lack of competition leading to poor customer outcomes. And frankly, it's one of those hidden fees which is pernicious and people don't think about. And, this hidden margin pricing strategy it really should go the way of the dodo.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, we'll leave it there, Jack. I appreciate your time. Well said, nice and clear.
I appreciate it, Duncan.
Okay.
Thanks so much for your
Take
time
care.
and thanks for your
Cheers.
listeners.
Thanks, mate.
Duncan Garner, live.
Right, so that is us. Thank you for tuning in to Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief Live with Esther's Oil, the premium New Zealand-made fish oil supplement backed by a study. Support joint, heart and brain health. Use the code Duncan for 10% off. Abouthealth.co.nz. Take as directed. Read the label. About Health Auckland. You can ring right now, 0800 999 309, and that will get you the product. Just mention my name, say Duncan, 10% off, bang. Suddenly you'll be finding fit. That is us. This will be available as a podcast on Rover very, very shortly, and wherever you get your podcasts, of course. Thanks for your feedback today and support. I'm Duncan at rover.nz. To my team, Isaac, Forrester, Serena. Thank you, guys. We will do this again tomorrow. Remember, live stage dress rehearsal, no curtain raiser, you're in it. It's one of the best places on earth, so get out and enjoy it. Have a great day. Take care, folks. Ta-da.
That was Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief Live. Missed something on the live stream? Text Duncan to 3598 to listen back on the podcast. Want to get in touch? Call 0800 863 293.